What is up, everyone? We are going to be starting some Intro to Python Skills Part 1 in just a few minutes. Probably give everyone some time to trickle in. Um, yeah, other than that, if you want to say hi, drop where you're from in the chat. I always love seeing where everyone's from. Hi, all. Looks like we have a few from India, so it's really cool. Hi. Ooh, California. Oh, I love California. Georgia. I have not seen anyone from Georgia yet. That's cool. I'm currently in Virginia. It's very Virginia-y. There's not too much to do from around here. Besides, I think hiking. My typing speed, I think my typing speed's like 100 to 120 words per minute. It depends like how gassed up I'm feeling. You know, I just joined MLH like 2 months ago, so it's always wild seeing like Mara from MLH. Okay. Thank you to everyone who came to like past workshops. That was so great to see that. Ooh, Bangladesh. I don't think Pakistan. Wow, amazing. I love everyone's from like all over the place. I think that's my favorite part about MLH. Okay. Oh, I see some familiar names too from all over the world. That's so cool. Yeah, thank you for everyone who came to the AWS workshop. I know there's a lot of downloading, a lot of bugs, but we worked through it. Um, Maybe if you stick it until the end, I'll share my LinkedIn ID and we'll see if you put a little note for a connection request. Maybe we can be LinkedIn buddies. Okay, I give it like a minute or two for anyone who like is still making their way in. Ooh, what? Everyone drop their favorite colors just because I want to see like how diverse it is. I'm personally, I'm a fan of yellow. Yellow and pink, those are my favorite colors. Shout out to everyone who likes pink. I'm seeing a lot of blue. Some black. Oh, someone used hex code. I think that's gray in hex code. Oh, the nature color pattern. It's really cute. Y'all got hex codes going on. I love it. I'm gonna look up a few of these. I'm gonna look up this one right here. Oh, that's really pretty. I'm really here for that. Okay. Now that we've had, it looks like our numbers staying pretty steady, so I'll just go ahead and start. By the way, if you see me looking here, I'm looking at my laptop. You see me looking here, I'm looking at my monitor. So like I'm still paying attention to y'all. It's just two screens. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Believe it should be this screen. Okay. So now let's go ahead and rein it back in. We are going to be talking about Intro to Python Skills for AI. Just to kind of give you guys a disclaimer, this is very much intro. So if you already know Python, this workshop may be interesting, but this is like meant for beginners. Okay, so first of all, always welcome. If you want to post about this workshop on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, that's our Twitter handle and that's our event hashtag. Just to give myself a little introduction. Also, like pop your introductions in the chat. I love reading them as like we go on. But hi, my name is Mara. I am a third-year CS major at the University of Virginia. That's in Central Virginia in the United States. That's my Twitch up there. I don't really stream that much, but I want to kind of start. Yeah, that photo is from when I went to Disney in Shanghai. It was like my first time ever going. And my favorite programming language and tool is either React or Python. Those are what I pretty much use kind of on the daily. Yeah, send in your introductions, and I'd love to read them as we go on. Okay, so today what you're gonna kind of learn is what Python is, what you can do with it, some basic Python syntax and structures, and then how to create and run Python programs. So before we start, make sure that you go ahead and check in here. I'm gonna go ahead and make that a banner so that way you guys have it. So that way you can check that. Feel free to go ahead and check that out. Okay, so as you guys probably know, Major League Hacking is just all about empowering hackers. We have such a large community built of all y'all great people. We are international with 400 plus cities. We have over 65,000 hackers, and the projects we've made together are 12,000 and more. I'm loving, shout out to Brooklyn, the 7th grader. I did not know that much coding when I was at that age. So shout out to you for learning early. I can go ahead and check in here. I'm sending the link in the chat. Sorry if my keyboard's a little too noisy for y'all. Okay. So basically, why does coding matter? Chances are, if you guys are here, you already know. Coding is just new literacy. So we live in in an age of technology. So if we don't know how to control that technology or how to utilize it to the best of our abilities, then what are we doing? And then also the great thing about learning like one programming language is once you understand that basic computational logic, it's really easy to apply that to other languages. Okay, so if you have coded before, send like what your favorite languages are and like what you've built in the chat. Shout to that person who sent Chinese in the chat. Yeah, I'm learning Chinese. I definitely didn't grow up with it, but I'm learning. Yeah. Shout out to the person who only knows C++. I did that for a semester and it was a rough time for me. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of Python, Java, some HTML, CSS. Seeing some of the classics. It looks like a lot of Python, Java, C++, HTML, and CSS. Yeah, you guys look pretty well-rounded. All right, just to give a little bit more of an introduction to this workshop, I'm gonna go ahead and close that banner so that way you guys can see. So this workshop is just the first one in a series of 3 workshops. I will be teaching the other 2 parts on Friday. That will kind of help teach you some of the Python basics that you can use for a lot of different things, such as artificial intelligence. So you may recognize Siri and Alexa. The project that we will be doing is going to be, here are just a couple other places that use artificial intelligence. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to just do the basics of writing code in Python today, and then we're going to build we're going to use a natural language processing library to create a bot of our favorite Twitter celebrity. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to learn the fundamentals today. So a lot of what is a function, how do we run it, what is a loop, things like that. And just so you guys know, when I say console, that's just going to be the application that runs Python files. When we open up the website that we'll be using today, I'll make sure to point that out. Okay. So if you want to check out what we're building, it's essentially going to be a chat bot. I'm not going to open it right now because we'll go because if you want to attend like the future workshops, you can. But essentially what this is you put down a Twitter username in the who do you want to chat with, you type a message, you send the message, and they will send it, like send a randomized tweet back. So it's kind of like you're chatting with your favorite celebrity. Okay, so how it works is, again, you just put in your Twitter handle, that information is put into the script. The script, which is just the chunk of code, is going to pull some tweets using something called web scraping, which is just getting the information from the website, Twitter in this case. It's going to run some functions. Functions are just reusable code, okay? And then that function is going to clean up that, like any information we don't want, and then print out what we want. Okay, so here are a few steps of what we're going to do. So we're going to first sign up for Glitch. We're going to copy our code. We're going to learn the basics of Python, write a few Python functions, scrape Twitter using Python, and then format our information and review and next steps. Unfortunately, I do not have control over what we're using, so we will just be using Glitch just because it's pretty well known. Maybe not pretty well known, but it's what everything's on. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So just to give a quick overview of what is Python, it was created in 1999. You can use it to make web pages, apps, and scripts. If you were there for the AWS workshop, you noticed that you used it for the web app that we made. So a lot of what Python is used for is for artificial intelligence and machine learning. So if you're really into that, make sure you learn some Python. And we're just going to go over some basics today. So that way you can build on top of that and learn more as you go on. Okay, so the basic, what we'll be learning today. So again, if this sounds a little too basic for you, please tune into the part 2 and 3 that we'll be having on Friday. But today we're going to be going over what variables are, loops, functions, and running our program. So variables, keep in mind what these are. You will have a quiz on this later in order to get build points. Okay, so variables are just like variables in math. If you guys have taken algebra, they essentially just store information for us. Loops are just a structure that you can use to perform the same task over and over and over again. So it kind of loops back around. That's probably like something that you say typically in English. Functions are a structure that you can use in your program to reuse bits of code throughout the program. So if I go ahead and define a function here, give it some code, I can call that function here and still run that same code. So the bot is divided into 3 parts. Today, we're just going over Python basics, and the next 2 workshops will be going a little bit more into the bot. Okay, so now I've given you guys some information. So we're gonna go ahead and set up Glitch. So go ahead and log into your email now if you're not already, because you will need to verify for sign up. Here is the link. Go ahead and sign in. I think I personally signed in with GitHub, but it doesn't really matter. Posting the link in chat. You're just going to navigate there, and we can get started a little bit. I'll give you guys some time to log in. I'm also going to put this over here. And if you guys haven't checked in or you need to check in, I just went ahead and put that check-in link down below. Today, we will not be scraping any data. We're just going to go over some Python basics to make sure everyone's on the same page. So that way, for the next 2 workshops, we're all ready to go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up Glitch on my side too. Okay, hopefully you guys have had a chance to kind of explore a little bit. So at this point, you should get an email. Go ahead and just sign in. So make sure you have that. For the quiz will be at the end of the workshop. That's how you'll get the points for build. I'll actually run through it with you. And then the second and third workshop will be Friday. I'm also leading those, and let me check the times. This is all at Eastern time. Part 2 will be Friday 9 a.m. and then part 3 will be Friday 1 p.m. Again, all in Eastern time. Okay. So hopefully now you should be signed up. So we're going to go ahead and get the code. So this is where you're going to find the code below. I'm going to go ahead and also type this for you guys. And then I'm also going to go ahead and make it a banner. So you guys should be able to see this. Okay. You can sign in using GitHub, you can sign up using your email, you can sign up with anything, just as long as you make an account. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and transition to screen sharing my code now, so that way we can remix this glitch together. Okay. Okay, if at any point I am going too fast, I know I'm kind of running through this beginning bit, let me know. I will slow down. I can go back and re-explain anything. Okay, so now that we're here on this page, that's what this link down below should have sent you. We're gonna go ahead and remix our own. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and learn a little bit more about variables. Go ahead and stop me if you guys haven't gotten here yet. But otherwise, if you are on this page, we're gonna go ahead and click variables.py right here. You should see this essentially blank file. I personally logged in through GitHub. It really doesn't matter. Okay. So right here, we're going to talk a little bit more about variables. So if you coded before, you've probably heard of variables. But just to recap, a variable is just something that stores some data. So like numbers or text, we'll call it text strings. We can create variables, we can give them values, and we can modify those values later. That's why variables are so great. So just to recap, you're going to go to this link down below, okay? Go to this link down below, and then you're going to go remix your own. And then you should get here. Okay. Oh yeah, I can zoom in. Sorry, I'm using my monitor. Okay, let me know. Is that good? Let me know if you want to zoom. You want me to zoom in a little bit more. I think that's okay. Cool. So just to kind of give you the general syntax of variables, so let's say I want to put down a variable that has an integer, which is, a whole number. I'll go ahead and zoom in a little. Actually, I think that's the, go ahead and I'll see if I can, I think this is the most I can do so it doesn't cut off. Okay, so a variable with an integer. So let's do, you can do like your age. So I'm gonna do my age. I'm gonna put an underscore just for like syntax to keep it all one chunk of text. And then I'm gonna do equal, I'm gonna do 19. So this is just saying my age is equal to 19. On the left, we have the variable name, and then we have the equal sign, and then we have the value that we're assigning to the name. So now if I were to call my name, it would be 19. It's essentially the same thing. Okay, so now we're going to make a variable that has a string text. Again, on the left-hand side, you'll have the name. So I'm going to do my name, press equal, and then I'm going to go ahead and put Mara in quotes. Okay. So at this point, we have these variables, but there's not much we can do with them. If we want to print out the contents of our variables, we'll have to use a function called print. So it starts out like that. It's the word print, and then parentheses. So now we're going to go ahead and you can put a variable in there. You can put my age, or you can do print, and then you can put a string. You know, it's a string because it's in quotes. And you put hello. Then you can do plus to concatenate or add together two strings. So I'm going to add my name, and then I'm going to add a nice exclamation point, make the computer say hi to me. And then if we want to combine strings and numbers, what we can do, we can print it just like this. We can do hello. We're going to put curly brackets to indicate kind of like a fill in the blank here. We're going to say you are. You're going to put another set of curly brackets. And then you're going to put years old. And then we're going to do something. We're going to put a period after the string, after the quotes, put format. And inside that, you're going to put in order what you want to fill in the blanks. So kind of imagine this like a Mad Libs. Also, I'm sorry. I'm now remembering that like I've taught at summer camps where people don't know what Mad Libs are. And it makes me feel kind of old. So I'm going to go ahead and do format, do my name, my age. Okay, but now what do we do with these print statements? We just kind of let them sit, I guess. No, we are actually going to print them out to the console. So the way we do that is we'll go to tools. Hold on, let me make sure. Get rid of the banner now. You guys should be good without it. I'll get rid of all banners. Okay, so now you can see that bottom left right here, it's tools. We're going to click that. We're going to go ahead and open the terminal. Okay, so you should get like this black thing. Yeah, you could also have the variable inside the string, or you could concatenate it like this. I'm just showing you a few different ways. If I can increase the font. I don't think I can increase it too much. Unfortunately, I think this is the largest I can increase it without it cutting off some text. Okay, so how are we going to print out what we just did into the terminal? So the way we're going to do it, we're going to go ahead and use the Python command. This is telling the computer that it's like, hey, we want to do something with Python. And then we'll go ahead and put the variable, or the file name. So variables.py. And then drum roll, please. We're going to put that there, we're going to enter, and look. It prints out 19, which is my age, prints out hello, Mara, my name, and then it says, hello, Mara, you are 19 years old. So just to kind of help like conceptualize it or contextualize it, this is like a good way of how we can make it like, how we kind of start like the machine learning process. Essentially, it's all just, there's a bunch of variables and we put them into templates. Okay. So again, with the print statement, just to go a little bit more in depth on that, the console will display anything that's going to be in the print statements, and each print statement is going to be on a new line. You can use single quotes. I think I just use double quotes typically. I can't remember which one's better practice. I just like double quotes. Okay, so now that we've made variables, we like called them, we can go ahead and start to modify them a little bit. So I'm also going to print a little divider here. So that way when we print in the console again, we can separate it. Okay, just to show you like a basic math formula, we can do A equals 5, okay, B equals 10, C equals A plus B. And we're going to go ahead and print A plus B equals, and then we're going to do those curly brackets again, because curly brackets basically mean here's a fill in the blank. And then this format right here is going, hey, you see that curly bracket? Here's what I'm going to put there. So we're going to put the C. Okay, so just pop some guesses in chat what you think this is going to print out as. Come on, don't leave me hanging, y'all. What do we think this is going to print out? Yes. Wait, I don't know where y'all are getting 24. It's gonna say A plus B equals 15. Yes. So we'll go ahead and I'm gonna press the up arrow just to do that same that previous thing. Press enter. So it's A plus B equals 15. If you're having trouble opening the terminal, you just go ahead and you go here to tools. It should be in your bottom left of the window, and you're gonna open the terminal right here. Okay. Y'all, this is a good lesson. Just because you see someone else type something doesn't mean that it's right. So A plus B, 10 plus 5 does not equal 24. Just to keep this in mind, you can do this with other operators. So like minus, divide, times. So yeah. Okay, now that we've kind of gone a little bit over variables, just the basic stuff, then we're going to talk a little bit about functions. Oh, Spicy Panera actually brought up a good point. Why is it not 5, 10? So that's a good point. That has to do with the type. So if I made a string that was 5, or yeah, and then a string that was 10, and I decided to print out A plus B here, and then decided to print out A plus B here, and I ran that, you would see 15 because it's integers. Okay, so it'd be 10 plus 5. Okay, and then for strings, it's going to concatenate them, put them next to each other, 5, 10. Okay, so that's a little sidebar. Now let's go ahead and move on to the functions.py file. Okay, so if you guys don't know what a function is, it's essentially something that lets you reuse a block of code over and over. So we've already used a few. If you remember, let's go back to variables. You'll see that we use print, the print function, and the format function. So the print function just outputs something into the console, and the format kind of helps us fill in the blanks that we mentioned in the string. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and write a little bit more code. Actually, so we'll answer this question really quick. You don't have to specify what type of variable they are in Python. So this is actually, I don't think as common. So if you use like C++ or Java, you typically have to say this variable is an int, this variable is a string, whatever. Python will pretty much be smart about it and guess for you. Okay, so now we're here at the function. Let's go ahead and fill out a few names. So we're going to go ahead and make a variable called my name. So can anyone tell me how they would make a variable called my name and have it equal to their name? So like, what should I type into my code here? Okay, Nisha, you're close. So my name equals, but if we just put down, so in my case, I'm gonna put down Mara. If we just put it down without quotes, it's gonna be looking for another variable. So yes, we need to put it in quotes, so it's a string. Perfect. Okay. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make our very first function. If you're afraid, it's okay. You don't have to be. It's very simple. We're gonna start out by defining our function. Defining our function means we're gonna write the word def, short for define. Okay. So we're gonna define our function that's say hello. So this is just us naming our function right here. And then we're gonna put those parentheses that we saw with print and format. But here we're going to pass in something called a parameter. So we're going to pass in name. Okay. It doesn't have to be the same name as the variable you defined before. This is a separate name. Okay. That only exists inside the function. Now we're going to put colons to tell Python that, hey, like what's after this is inside the function. Also, something to keep in mind if you are new to programming or you've programmed another language besides Python, Python is actually based off of indents. So if I were to type print hi here versus printing hi here, this line right here, because this line right here, the fourth line, is actually inside the function while the fifth line is not. So don't forget your indents. If you notice that something's wrong, chances are, watch out for that. Okay, so now how do I print out a string that says hi and then with my name? Can you guys go ahead and send me your guesses in chat? How can I say hi with a name inside my function? Yeah, so I don't know if Python is the only language necessarily, but in Python, you don't use a semicolon. Okay, I'm seeing this, print hi, comma, my name. And I like to see that I think you included a space between that, great. So hi, comma, space, plus name. Pretty simple. For the indent, just do a tab. Okay. So now, in order to call this function, we're going to, also another good way that someone mentioned was print hi, I'm gonna add a comma, sorry, sleepy eyes, and then this, and then format. But actually, I want you guys to recognize, instead of my name, which would just be this variable, we wanna keep it a little more dynamic. We wanna make sure that we're using the parameter that we're passing into the function. So we would say name, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and comment this out, but that's just another way. Okay. So now in order to call this function, we're going to say hello, and then in parentheses, I'm gonna put my name. Okay, and then let's go ahead and run it by doing Actually, how do you guys think we run it in the terminal? Either way of how you, like, if you choose to do format or you choose to do this plus, you can change the name depending on how you call the function, and we'll see that in just a second. Oh, I guess, okay. Python, and then functions.py, see if you type that. Okay, and now it says, hi Mara. So one thing I want you guys to notice here is that I'm taking this variable that's equal to Mara, I'm passing it in here, okay? And so now Python is going to look at where this function is defined. It's gonna go back up to line 3. It's gonna see like, oh, like this is where it's defined. It takes in this thing called name, and it's gonna do hi and the name. And it knows that this will be named. So to call this again, to kind of show you, is we're gonna go, let's say, someone send their name. I'll choose someone, the first person, and we'll go ahead and print their name. No? Yes? Paul. Paul, we're here. Okay. So we'll go ahead, and now you'll see that it says, hi Mara and hi Paul. Okay, so just to kind of repeat that process, I'll work my way down a little bit, just a couple, not all you guys, sorry. I'm gonna do Lydia and then Adita. I don't want to pronounce your name wrong, but I think it's really pretty. So basically, if I run this here, you're gonna see that I'm printing all of those. So you'll see that this function just takes whatever's passed in the parentheses, which is now essentially something called a variable called name, and then you can use it in there. Okay. Warrior Queen, I'm not sure what you mean by the formatting enables you to print different names. So the function here and having like a variable called name allows you to print different names, whether like whichever line you choose, whether you choose to do the plus name or the format name, does not matter. It's just having it's just creating a function, doing define, say hello, and the name. Okay. So something that I want y'all to try, okay? So you can actually pass multiple variables into a function. So just to kind of show you an example, we can do an addition function. Actually, something a little bit different from what I'm going to have you guys do. We're going to say 2 hellos, and we're going to make it a first name, second name. And I'm going to say first name plus says hello to, and we're just going to do second name. Okay, so now when we run this, I'll use a couple more names from here. We're going to do 2 hellos for Lily and Elias. Okay, so can you guys guess what line 15 is going to print out? So when I run this code and I have 2 hellos, yeah, it's going to go ahead and say Lily says hello to Elias. So that just kind of shows you how you can use 2. Now, to give you guys a little quick challenge, can you guys go ahead and go ahead and type this function header. Function header is what that first line is called, that has the define and the name and the parameters and the colon. We're going to do num1, we're going to do num2, colon. Can you guys tell me how do we multiply num1 and num2 and then print the result? That's right, 2 hellos currently cannot accept more than 2 arguments. So we're going to build a function that returns the product of num1 and num2. Yeah, so there's a couple ways to do it. You can either do print num1 times num2. You can make a variable called num3 that is equal to that. Okay, and then print num3. But right now we are not returning. We will talk about that later. But something I want to mention is returning will not print. We'll talk about that why later. So So now if I go ahead and let's run this with a couple numbers. Maybe make some 24. So we're gonna do 6 and 4, and we're gonna go ahead and run that, and you'll see that it prints out 24 twice because we have it print out twice. Okay. So it's just as simple as that. And now we can use that function to multiply like any 2 numbers together. We can change it up. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and open returns.py. Okay. I'm going to send you, or actually, let's go ahead and write some code together. Typing always helps it out. We're going to make a function that is called create full name, and it's going to take in the 2 parameters, first name and last name. So function name, create full name, and then the parameter names are first name, and then we're going to do last name. So now can someone type in the chat what the function header would look like? Okay, so what does the function header look like? We start with a keyword. So we start with the keyword def. We're going to have the name, create full name, and then in parentheses, we're going to go ahead and pass the parameters. So we're going to do first name and last name. Okay, and then don't forget the colon. Okay, you can't forget the colon. So again, to recap, there are 4 parts to it. Def, which is the defined keyword, the function name, the function parameters inside parentheses with commas separating each of them, and then a colon, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a new variable called full name, and we're just going to capitalize the whole name. Just gonna show you like what else you can do. So we're going to take the first name, okay, and we're gonna apply this method called upper. It's built into Python. All you have to do is do dot upper next to a string, okay, and then we're going to concatenate, which is just add two strings together. So concatenate with a plus, and we'll just put in a space here. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing, but with the last name, okay? And now what we're gonna do is, so someone asked this earlier, someone asked this question, print just outputs to the console, correct, okay? But Python will not like implicitly return. So if you have a function that just prints, it's going to return nothing. If we want the function to return instead of print, we will have to specify it with the return keyword. We'll go ahead and return full name. Yes, Adam, we are just making them uppercase just for the fun of it. There's no reason. Yeah, let's. The only thing I would say about this syntax right here is that you don't have the space, but other than that, you're concatenating two strings together, making one string that's grouped by the parentheses, and you're applying the upper function or upper method. So yeah, you technically could, just don't forget about the space. Okay. So now we're gonna go ahead and let's create the full name. And let me, you know what? Let me go back to y'all's names and put a couple more, combine some of y'all's names together. We'll do some Mohit and some Mandy. Okay. So now if we go ahead and run this, doing Python returns.py, because we've moved files, nothing outputs. Quick question that I want to bring up. What if we have two returns? You unfortunately cannot have two returns. When you return one, or wait, actually, so if you're talking about two returns like this, so it says return hi, I want you to notice that this code will never run because when you return, it actually takes you out of the function. You're right. So when we return, it leaves the function off, like such as Java. As for allowing two returns, you would kind of have to separate them like with commas and kind of make a list out of them, but that's a little different. Okay, so we're just gonna do that. Okay, so now we run the program, nothing happens. But like, you kind of expect that because you never told the function to print everything. So how can we utilize return and make that a little more useful? So something I want to let you guys know is when you call this function and you return something, this function call is the same thing as this. So create full name right now is the uppercase version of Mohit Mandy. So we have to go ahead and set this equal to a variable. I'm going to go ahead and call it result, put equal, and I'm going to go ahead and print this result. Okay, so now you'll see that we took the function call, we had it return something, we saved the return value into a variable called result, and we went ahead and printed that result. Okay. Give me 1 second. Just want to make sure. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead. The names are uppercase in this case. What happens if you run? All right, so something that you guys don't really have to know, but just good question. If you run upper on it, all it's going to do is make sure everything's in caps. Yeah. Okay. So now we've done returns a little bit. Again, like if you're a little bit confused, we're gonna keep like adding on to it. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to loops. So go ahead and move to the Python loops.py. Quick question before we run it. What do you guys think this is gonna output? Based on all your programming expertise. When I run this, what is it going to print out? What is the console going to look like? Yeah, it'll print day 1 all the way to day 10. Look, how inefficient. So like, it's not too bad for it to be 10 lines, to print out day 1 through 10, but you have to think, like, what if I want to print out day 1 to 100, day 1 to 1,000? This is exhausting. I'm not typing print day 953 and just doing that over and over again. So a wonderful solution to this is a loop. There's a special name to this loop. If you guys have coded before, you'll know what it's called. What do you think what kind of loop are we going to do? Take a guess. A for loop. Okay, so just to recap, a loop is just a way to repeat the same task many times in a program without writing it each time. So what we're going to go ahead and do, I'm going to personally leave this code just so we can see, like, compare it, but I'm going to go ahead and print like a little separation. We're going to do a for loop. So for the syntax of a for loop, we're going to do for num in range 10. I'll kind of go over the whole, like, what this all means. Now we're going to go ahead and print day, and then something that I want you guys to know, I've been saying concatenate. So concatenate is adding 2 strings together. Addition is adding 2 numbers together. What do we call it when we add a string and a number? It's a trick question. We don't. You cannot add a number and a string together for in Python. So the way we're going to get around that is with the curly brackets and some format. You can also like do something called typecasting, but I don't want to get into that right now. Okay, so now for num in range 10, we're going to go ahead and print out day and then curly bracket and then format that for a num. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so just to kind of break down what's going on. So we'll notice that, okay, so first thing, let's go ahead and let's look at this output. What's a little off about this? What's a little bit off? Right. So it's day 0 to 9 instead of 1 through 10. So something that I want you guys to keep in mind is that computers will start counting from 0. Okay, so it starts counting from 0, and then this right here, range 10, is actually end exclusive. So it will count up to 9. So if I say range 5, it'll count up to 4. If I say range 10, it'll count up to 9. If I say range whatever, it will count all the way up to, but not including that last number. Okay? So now what we can do is, looks like we have a couple solutions. We can do range 1 through 11. That's basically, this is the start right here. It's going to start at 1 and end right before 11. Keep in mind, up to, but not including 11. So let's go ahead and try that. So it looks like that works. And then, yeah. So now we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about lists. So we'll move on to lists. Okay. So variables store just a single value. If we want to have a list of like related variables, so like a list of name, a list of phone numbers, a list of emails, especially if you have like a mailing list or something, you'll want to create something called, hint, hint, a list. So it's called the same thing in Python, it's just a list. You may recognize this if you're in other programming languages as something called arrays, but essentially they're kind of the same thing. Okay, so the syntax for how we'll do that is we're going to go ahead and make names equal to the square brackets. Okay, so this is telling Python, yes, it's essentially an array, but in Python we call it list. So we're just going to put the square brackets, and that's how we're going to declare the list. So this list, I say it's like kind of similar to an array in other languages. This list is just going to be a collection of items. You can add it, you can remove it, things like that. So it's more dynamic. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and make a list called names. This creates an empty list. Okay, so if I look up like the type of this variable, it's going to be a list, but it's not going to have anything in it. Let's go ahead and make a list with all the planets' names. I had to practice this. I know the first 4 because I have that copied. So it's Mercury, Venus, Earth, we're the 3rd planet, and then we have Mars. And then for like the last 4 in my head, I always go Jason because it's Jupiter, Saturn, that's Saturday, can't think and type apparently, and then Uranus. Okay, but now I'm going to purposely leave off the last one. Okay, so now if we go ahead and let's print planets, and let's see what shows up. So let's do Python list.py. So if you notice, it's going to be in that same format. It's going to have the square brackets, which means it's a list, and it's going to have quotes, which means that it's a string. So it's just a piece of text. And we'll see that we have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. Okay, so now if we want to add to it, we're going to go ahead and do planets, and we're going to append. So I purposely, Pluto. You're right. So I purposely left the last planet off, Neptune. But you know what? That's a good point. Pluto, never gone. Never forgotten. Sad that some people are growing up without it as a planet. What a bad time. I will not be taking any criticism about Pluto not being a planet at this time. And so now we're going to print out planets again, and let's see the difference. So if you see here, the append method right here, if you take a list and you just do dot and you do append and you put a value here, we're going to go and add it. Pluto, okay, yeah, you're right. I'll put an asterisk in front of Pluto. It's a planet to me, okay? So that's basically just how we add onto a list. Okay, so now if we know how to print the whole list, okay? And we get all the contents, but what if we just want one thing? So we just want one thing, we can call it by its index. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and print planets 1. Okay, before I run this, what is planet 1 going to print out? So if we had to guess, what is planets 1? To everyone saying Venus, why Venus? Because I see a lot of y'all saying Venus. I don't know if okay. So you see someone said Mercury. Okay. So the way this works is, as many of you guys already know, what I mentioned earlier, the same thing with the loop, computers start counting from 0. So to them, it's 0. I don't know why I personified computers, but to computers, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, just normal counting, just -1. So when we call 1, we're calling 0 and then 1. Okay, so it's gonna print out Venus. Oh yeah, that is a good question. So just to kind of play around a little bit, what do you think planets -1 is going to print? Adam can answer if he suggests this. This might be a tricky one unless you already like have programmed before. Yes, so it's going to be the last one. So it's asterisk with the Pluto. So you can do negative indexing. It's just going to work its way backwards. So this is 0 right here. So -1 is like back here, but essentially it's like loop back over here. But yeah, that's a fun little thing. Okay, so now let's go ahead and think about how we can utilize loops with lists. Okay, so there's this syntax right here. It's called a for each loop. So we can say for planet in planets, we can print out the planet. Okay, so go ahead. If you notice, or let me print a separator. Those are always nice. So this for each loop essentially just cycles through the list, iterates through the list, and it takes that value and just prints it out. So this is a little bit different from like the numbers that you saw earlier. We could do the same thing by, let's go ahead and do another divider. We can go ahead and do the same thing by saying for num in range. Oh goodness, I forgot the syntax for this. I think it's length planets. And then we can just print planets, and then we can index it by the number. So go ahead. This print out, oh, got the right syntax. This prints out the same thing. So I just did the length of the planets list, and keep in mind that it is end exclusive, so it does not include that last one. That's why we're not writing to an out of index error. So yeah. Oh yeah. So why computers count from 0? It essentially is just digital logic just is typically like a 1 or a 0, so it's just going to start from 0. Okay. So now we've done a lot of this already. We've kind of played around with what lists are, what returns, variables, and functions are. Now we're going to go ahead and look into what importing is. So Python has a lot of built-in functions. As we've already seen, we've seen print, we've seen upper, we've seen range, but now, like, if you want to extend the function of Python by using functions someone else has written, those are called modules, okay? And we can import those modules. We can even import other Python files we've written ourselves, so that way we can use those functions. So let's go ahead and look at the returns file. In returns, you should have this function right here, create full name. Okay, but what if we want to use it in another file? So we'll go ahead and we'll go to imports, and because it's in the same folder, you can do this. We're just going to do import, and we're going to import the returns file. Okay, so now at this point, we can do print, we can do returns, and then we do a dot, and we say create full name. So this right here is just saying that we're going to go into the returns file and find the create full name function. So now let me scroll back up to see, oh, I cannot see any of your names. So if someone wants to put down your own name, like I'll put it as a parameter, as an argument. Just pop your name in the chat. So you don't need you don't need py because it already is a Python file, so it's gonna know. Okay, so I'm gonna go in order. So we'll do Adam, and we'll do, okay, I'm not gonna do any repeats. We're gonna do Alexa. Okay, so now if we go ahead and print this, it's Python, we're gonna do imports.py. It's gonna show that it's going to go ahead and print this out. So this is just printing out what this file is. If we go ahead and comment that out, that will not be there. Okay. Okay, just making sure everything's good. Another like fun thing that we can do that will be like a fun little challenge is we can import random. And so we can go ahead and print some random number. So between 0 and 99, because remember at the end is exclusive. So this is just saying we're going to go check the random import or the random file, and we're going to find this function inside of it. So if I go ahead and run it, it's going to 86. It's random, so it's going to change each time to see if your favorite number shows us. Yeah, the other syntax you can do it. You can also do it like this and just import a specific function. But yeah, there's a couple different ways. Definitely expand on this afterwards. And then random is just something Python knows. It's a really common Python module, so you don't have to do anything special with that. And yeah, we can even, so if we decide to go back to our list, we can also import random. You always import at the top, and I could even combine this to print a random number. So I mean, I could import list, but I'm just gonna try to keep it as simple as this. Okay, do length planets. So keep in mind, now that's a random planet. We can keep doing it. Bunch of random planets. Now we're combining little things. We're getting a little more fun with it. Okay. Random has a lot of different functions. I don't know them all, but you can definitely look them up. Okay. So now we're towards the end. We're having a good time. We've learned a bunch of Python. So now what you can go ahead and do is we can go into the challenge.py. Okay. So here's a couple hints. We want to write a 10 lists of random numbers, okay? So if you see here, the first list, it's gonna have 0 items, then 1 item, then 2, 3, 4, 5, down all the way to 9. So each list item will have a random integer between 0 and 100. Keep in mind, we just learned this. And if we print out all the list, it should look something like this. Okay? So this is a couple hints here, but other than that, go ahead and write the code below this comment block. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys about, what do you say, 5 minutes to kind of think about it. Let me go ahead and set timer. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes on the clock to look at this challenge, and if y'all are doing well with it, we'll go ahead and pick someone to join the stream and present their code. So I'm not gonna tell you guys how to do it yet. I'm gonna wait until the 5 minutes are up before giving you hints, but here should be some of those hints. So just kind of take what we've learned in like these previous files that we've just gone through and see how you can utilize that knowledge. And so the way that I'm going to be picking people to come join the streams, right, will be via Discord. So I will, in the LHD build chat, if you want to join the stream, send me your code for the Python workshop. I want to make sure. Okay. So maybe you guys got about like 3 more minutes left. Okay, so just to kind of give you some time to code, maybe do a little bit of ASMR, nice keyboard clacking, nails. Okay, so keep in mind what we want 10 lists of completely random numbers, okay? We want the first list to have 0 items, the second list to have 1, third list to have 2, etc., until the 10 list has 9 random numbers, okay? So each time you run this file, they should not be the same. You don't want to hard code. You don't want to set values that you can't change, okay? Okay, and then in 2 minutes, you guys are feeling bold enough. You don't have to. I can like take, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you want to, join the stream, kind of show off your code, show how you did it, then send me your code via Discord. I will send in case you guys aren't in the community. I'm sending you guys the link too. Keep in mind, this is going to be the last thing we do before we take the quiz, get some points for local build, and say farewell until tomorrow. Okay. Okay, I'm getting some submissions. I'm gonna start looking at them. Okay, looks like we've got someone who looks like they have some pretty good code. I'm going to send them a link for them to join, and then just have them go ahead and share their screen. So you guys got, timer's up. So at this point, you should kind of have it. Star Kizzard, I sent you a link via Discord for you to join the stream. So if you want to hop on, share your desktop, then you can show it off. It may take a second, so I kind of want to give them a chance. Okay, while we're waiting, if you want to go ahead and kind of give some general on how you sent the code. Okay, so give me 1 second to make sure kind of get everything set up. Actually, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go ahead and invite them to the stream. Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me? Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes.
Yeah, so sorry, my camera is broken, so I'll join with voice only.
No worries. I'm gonna go
Uh,
ahead and add your desktop. So if you
okay,
wanna
so can
just go ahead and pick up.
so if you can see my desktop.
Oh, do you actually mind zooming in so everyone can see it a little clearer?
Okay, okay. Uh, yeah, clear.
How's that for everyone? Okay. Doesn't look like anyone's complaining about it yet, so it should be good.
So yeah, I just imported the random module here, and then what I did was I created the function that the comment asked for to generate a random list with the given length. So uh, wait, let me. So for okay, so for, whenever I have so I define the function with the function header generate underscore random list, and the argument I'm passing is length. So I just didn't want to confuse it with the length, so I just named it length. And then I created an empty list called L, and then for as I have to generate a random list of this particular length, so I loop from 0 because the range starts from 0, and we wanted the length from 0 to length 9, right? So till whatever length, so we loop, and then we append a random integer between 0 and 100 to L. So after this loop gets executed, the L should have a random integer, have length number of random integers from 0 to 100, and then after this loop's complete, I'm returning L from this function, and so this function is called right here. So this L would get returned and get printed here, but this statement is inside a loop, so it's for length in range 10. So this argument that was passed here would go from 0 to 9, as the range 10 starts from 0 but would end at 9. So this is the whole code that I came up with.
Yeah. I think that looks great. And it looks like a lot of y'all had the same code. So thank you for hopping on the stream and explaining your code. It was great
Yeah,
having you.
thank you, most welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Everyone say bye. Say thank you. Okay. So now at this point, hopefully you've had a chance to look at that a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go switch it back to the slides. Okay. Sorry, switching slides is not a little rough sometimes. Okay. So now we can see the slides. So basically, let's go ahead and recap what we just did. We're at the end of the workshop. We've learned that Python is a programming language that we can use for data analysis or artificial intelligence, machine learning, everything in between. We've learned a little bit about Python tools, so that way we can use functions, lists, loops, variables, etc. And we can also extend that functionality by importing modules that we've written in modules, which are files that we've written or even other people have written. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and test what we learned today. I will be doing this with you. So I'm going to go ahead and switch localhost. Go ahead and send that link to y'all. And then switch my screen so that way we can take this together. Okay, now we're here. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so which event did we attend? Go to all the Pythons. We did basic training intro to Python skills for AI. Okay, so now we scroll down. We're gonna go ahead and put LHD build 2021 because we want you guys to get these guild points, okay? And then go ahead and put the same email address that you used to check in. So I'm just gonna put in my LH email. I'm gonna go next. Okay, so there's gonna be a little bit about like a little survey afterwards, but right now we're gonna focus on the quiz. Okay, so I'm not gonna answer these. I'm gonna have you guys answer them. So what is a variable, you guys think? Is it a bit of code that stores information, a structure your program can use to perform the same task multiple times, a structure your program can use to reuse bits of code throughout the app, or is it a way to retrieve information from websites? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I sent the link earlier, but I'll go ahead and share this down below if you want to see it. So I shared the link earlier. Okay, so it is it's a bit of code that stores information. Okay, so maybe these other answers might seem a little bit close, but we'll see as we go on that these go to other things. Okay, so what is a function? Is it a bit of code that stores information? That's what we said for a variable. Is it a structure that our program can use to perform the same task multiple times? Or is it a structure your program can use to reuse bits of code throughout the app or a way to retrieve information from sites? Okay. It looks like we're kind of stuck between B and C. Kind of want to remind you guys that we have functions and we have loops, okay? So so let's kind of think. For a function, when we know that one of these answers are also for a loop, what does a function do? Okay, now it looks like we're starting to get overwhelming C's. Okay, and then what is a loop? As for the school organization that hosted this event, it will be LHD space build space 2021, so you can get those guild points. So what is a loop? So is it a way to retrieve information from websites, a bit of code that stores information, a structure your program can use to reuse bits of code throughout the app, or a structure your program can use to perform the same task multiple times? Okay, looks like we're getting a lot of D's. Okay, now what is web scraping? Let me give it a sec to make sure we're not just getting leftover D's. Someone seems real passionate about this being D. So I'm gonna go ahead and click a way to retrieve information from websites. Okay, now what is artificial intelligence? Is artificial intelligence a way to retrieve information from websites? A structure your program can use to reuse bits of code throughout the app? Is it a field of programming that allows apps to seem smart? Or is it a bit of code that stores information? Looks like we're getting a lot of C. Shout out to the person who said E, knowing that is not an answer. Okay, so now, yeah, so just gonna recap, a variable, yeah, it's just a little bit of code that stores information. So we can have a variable called my name that's equal to my name, Mara, or it's equal to your name, like Elias or Mandy or whatever. And then we can have a function that lets us reuse bits of code throughout the app. So if I have a function like very early on in my code, I can just call it again. And then the school and organization is going to be LHD build 2021. And then a loop, you guys got a little hung up on like the difference of these two, which honestly, it's a little tricky. It's very nuanced. So a loop is a structure that can perform the same task multiple times. So is a function, but the part that we need to like think about here is even though a function can be used to perform the same task multiple times, you can reuse bits of code throughout the app. You can't do that with a loop. It only happens right there. Okay. And then we have web scraping. So that's just a way to retrieve information from websites. I kind of brushed over it in the beginning, but websites, web scraping sounds pretty self-explanatory. And then AI, it's a field of programming that allows apps to seem smart. So now if you go ahead and press next, there'll be a survey. Let us know how we did, how I did, and like what you think of MLH. Other than that, let me go ahead and I'll go back for anyone who missed it. Oh goodness. I guess I can't go back. Okay, for anyone who missed it, oh, psych, I can't go back. But for anyone missed it, you just kind of put in your email, and this is for LHD Build 2021. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen. If you guys, I know you guys have been asking, if you want to connect via LinkedIn, I'm gonna send my LinkedIn profile. One thing to keep in mind, definitely send me a little message, a little note, so that way I know where I met you guys from. I like to kind of filter it out a little bit, so it's not just a bunch of spam. As for whoever said we didn't do the part, it actually censors out the URL, so I can't see the part. I unfortunately do not use Twitter, but if you want to find me on Twitch, or yeah, on Twitch, you can find me at Mara Drinks Milk. Okay. Other than that, for next steps, you should have some resources in your email. You can also take this glitch that is now yours. You've remixed it. So you can just do it yourself, play around with it, learn a little bit more about Python. As for the regex part, we don't need it right now. We'll talk a little bit more about regex in the future ones. As for AI web scraping, we haven't learned that, so how do we leave a review? Up to your discretion, how you fill out the survey is up to you. And just kind of give you a recap of the other live streams I will be doing. Tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. to follow a tutorial with me. It's a daily challenge to follow any tutorial to build something new. I'll be exploring a little bit of like headless CMS that I've never done before, so we'll be learning something new together. And then on Friday, if you want to attend part 2 and 3 of this workshop, Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, we'll be doing part 2. And then Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing part 3. And that's where we'll kind of get more into all that web scraping. So hopefully see you guys tomorrow. See you guys on Friday, and have a great day. Okay, see you guys in the Discord. Bye.